Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicoleta and I am very happy for you to be here because today we have a very interesting topic. We are going to discuss how to build rapport and how to connect with the prospect on a personal level. It's very important to be able to build rapport because that creates a relationship that can bring a lot of advantages. And today we are going to talk about what it is to build a rapport, what are some of the most useful techniques we can use, what are do and don'ts, so what could be the mistakes when we are trying to build rapport, and of course we will give some storytelling and some real cases from my own experience. So I hope this sounds good to you and let's start. First, what exactly is to build rapport? Rapport is a deep connection or a mutual understanding that allows people to feel at ease with each other. Research shows that when salespeople have rapport with prospects, the chances of closing the deal increase by 30 to 40%. In my early days in sales, I sometimes struggled to connect with certain prospects. But once that I realized how important and the power of rapport, then everything changed. So I started to learn more about the techniques that I need to use in order to be able to develop rapport with any kind of prospect. So how can you go about developing strong rapport? Tip number one is try to identify common ground. Research prospects beforehand to find shared experiences, interests, and look for common ground in terms of interests, backgrounds, and values. One easy way to do that is by using LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a huge database where all the professionals have their profile. So go through the profile that they have, go through the posts that they are posting, and learn as much as possible about them beforehand. Once that you have this information, just filter and see what kind of common discussions can you have. For example, you can use something, hey, I've seen that you were studying a technical university. I have the same background as you. Let's discuss some more about the things that we have in common, and I'm pretty sure that we will be able to build a good relation together. Tip number two is use mirroring techniques. So, for example, you can match their energy, their tone, their body language of the prospect. That creates unconscious affinity and harmony in the conversation that you are having with him. What I like very much is just to look into their eyes and do the active listening, which is basically the tip number three. Active listening, so equally important, is to make eye contact, reflect their emotions, and give your full attention. Leaning in and mirroring their body language also helps better connection. If you lean in when they are talking, you give them the impression that you are really interested in what they have to say and that their concerns and their things that they are giving to you are well heard and you will respond accordingly. Give your full attention rather than thinking about what you will say next. I know it's important to speak in the meetings, but please remember what I said in the previous video. Customers should talk at least 80% in one meeting. So it means that you need to listen very carefully, make your structure in your mind with what would be the tailored product or service that you can offer for his needs, and only after that talk to him. Of course, you need to ask intelligent questions that will make him open even more to you, and he will share even more from his pains, his challenges, and his objectives when he's talking to you. What is also important, reflect back key points to show that you understood and that you listened carefully. In that way, the customer will feel that he was heard. So, as I said before, another thing is tip number 4, which means ask good questions. Ask thoughtful questions until you uncover something relatable that you can bond over. This shows prospects you care about them as individuals. Get prospects talking about themselves, their challenges, their goals, then provide relevant solutions tailored to their needs. Number 5 is be authentic and show vulnerability. I will give you a short story and tell you how I made my first sale when I was really young. I was like 24 years old, and I went to a customer. It was a Friday afternoon. It was my last customer for that week. I've been trying to do sales for like 3 months with no good results. And I went to this customer, and his business was really small. So I didn't really understand. Only by looking on his website, it looked like his business would have been much bigger. But then when I entered there, I saw the business was really small. So the probability for me to make any sale was really, really low. So of course I was a bit disappointed, but and then the customer noticed he was actually the owner of that business, and he said, "You know what? It's Friday afternoon. Let's have a coffee with my wife." The company was on his place, so we went and had a coffee, and then I shared with him, look, I've been trying to make sales for 3 months with no results, and it's okay. I will find customers, but it's just that it's a bit difficult when you start. And by the time I got home, the customer sent me my first order. And then he called me and he said, "Look, Nicoleta, this is just for you because you showed vulnerability, and it's so rare that you can find people like that." So that impressed him. And of course, that for me was the best customer. And it was not a big value. Don't imagine it was a huge value. It was a small value, but it was my first customer. And from there, I just went up. So sometimes you need to be vulnerable, you need to show emotions, and you need to be able to relate with the people that you are talking to. Even though you know you might do a sale or maybe you won't, but at least you know that you did your best at that meeting. Whether your prospects are business to business or business to customer, as said before, it's very important that you do your research beforehand. There are now so many channels where you can do that, like LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, social media of all types like Facebook, Instagram, articles about their company and about their career are very good resources that you can use. Engage prospects directly by commenting or liking their posts on social media platforms. This gives them a glimpse into your personality. Okay, so we were talking about what are the best techniques that we can use to build rapport. So tip number 1 was identify common ground. Tip number 2 was related to use mirroring techniques. So mirroring the techniques, exactly the behavior of our prospect. Tip number 3 was active listening. Really listen to your prospect and what he has to say so you can identify the challenges and the pain points that he has. Tip number 4 was related to ask good questions. Ask good questions so you can identify what could be some relatable subjects that you could have in order to build a better relationship. Then tip number 5 was be authentic and show vulnerability. This gives the customer the impression that you are a human being just like him and you are there to support him and to find common ground in order to solve his problems. Okay, so now let's talk about some common rapport building mistakes that you should definitely avoid. One of the biggest mistakes is oversharing. Sharing too much personal information and too soon can make the other person feel uncomfortable. So we don't want that. Mistake number 2 is being inattentive. So not paying attention to non-verbal cues such as the body language or facial expressions, which can provide valuable insights into the other person's feelings. That is a huge mistake. Ignoring cultural differences is another big mistake. Not being aware or respecting the cultural differences and norms when communicated with people from different backgrounds is a huge mistake, especially when you are acting like a regional or global manager. Interrupting the other person is rude even in daily life, but in business is so disrespectful and can disrupt the flow of the conversation. I know it's important for our salespeople to talk, for example, if we feel that they are saying something that is not completely right, but just take a breath, let them finish, and then you have your part where you can give the reply or you can turn the objection around. Mistake number 5 is neglecting follow up. Forgetting to follow up after an initial interaction, which can weaken the report that you've just built. This is very important, and I always say to my people, follow up, follow up, follow up. This is necessary. It takes from 8 to 15 interactions until you close a deal. So you need to do that consistently and with the right system. Using inappropriate humor, making jokes or comments that may be inappropriate or offensive for the business context, it's a very bad message to give to your prospect. Being self-centered and focusing solely on your own needs and interests without considering the other person's perspective is very rude, and it shows that you basically do not care about the person you have in front of you. Now I will share with you what I like to do with my customers and how I try to build rapport with them. So what I do very often is smile and have an open attitude in my body language and an open attitude in my face. So I genuinely try to be interested in what they have to say to me and find common grounds. Maybe I look on their office desk and see some pictures, or if I'm in a virtual meetings, then of course I did my research already. And for example, I had one customer, I saw that he was very interested in spaceships. So I've studied a little bit, and then I started the discussion with him related to spaceships and what exactly is he interested in. And so we were trying to discuss personal stuff, which brought us to a better relationship. Another thing that I'm doing is that I'm showcasing testimonials from my customers. I often say to him, hey, I had one customer which had a similar challenge like you, and this is how we solved. If you would like to hear from him, I could put you in connection with my customer and you can talk directly with him. And that builds a lot of trust because are not only my words that are saying this to him, but also the possibility for him to interact with a similar person that had a similar problem. Another thing that I'm doing, I'm always being grateful for the time that he's allowing me to talk to him, about the time that we share together. And I always try to take advantage and have a face-to-face meeting. I believe that face-to-face meeting are the real strong bond of building a good relationship. Being able to look into his eyes, to see what he is thinking, and to really feel all the emotions and the things that we are exchanging during a face to face meeting is really hard to be replaced with a virtual meeting. So if that is possible, I always take the advantage and say, hey, I would prefer for us to have a face-to-face meeting. Is it okay if we have, I don't know, 1 hour or maybe a lunch break or maybe a dinner in order for us to try to build rapport? And normally the customers are not saying no if they think that you have something valuable for them and if they really need that you are the person that could solve their pains and their challenges. Please remember the most important thing: people are buying from people. The products are more or less the same. When you have a product to sell, it is very rare that you are the only producer in the world that have that product. Yes, you could have some features that other competitors don't have, but more or less the products from the technical point of view are at the same level. The difference is making the approach that you have to your customers, the understanding you provide to his challenges and pain points, and of course, the different features that you are able to enhance in his eyes that could bring some comfort and some ease in use. So people buy from people, and building rapport is the most important thing that a salesperson is a must that he learns well, and he is doing that with every occasion and every meeting that he is having. I hope this video was useful for you, and if you have comments and questions, just leave them in the bar below. I will be more than happy to answer to those questions for you. And until next time, stay safe and don't forget to unlock your sales potential. Thank you for watching this video and see you next time. Bye!